Morning, everybody. Oh, excuse me. Gosh, my voice is still cracking from this. It feels like never-ending cold, but I'm feeling fine. Don't worry. Um, so Friday morning, I'm just slow getting going. You can tell I'm bunning it this morning. And I don't really get tired of talking about this topic because I think it's really important. It's the idea and the fear. I think the fear that every single person has, if you've ever heard of intuitive eating or you've been on this path for 2 months or 2 years or 20 years, is that kind of a thing that we don't know we're signing up for when we start it, is the idea that to be trusting of your body and to even, heaven forbid, learn to maybe like your body, will come along with it this exchange of like, you're not going to be like everybody else. And when I say everybody else, what I mean is people who diet, people who worry about food and weight, people that, and I'm not talking about people who like generally care about the health and maybe they'll have exercise routines they like, but people who can who enjoy those things or do it for health reasons, but it's not obsessive. They can miss it. They don't overly think about it. They just have some routines or habits they have, and they do it, and they don't preach it to anybody else. They just do their thing. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people that most of us have had influence by at some point in our life. It's just the people who chronically worry about their weight. They criticize their bodies. They judge it, maybe even other people's bodies. It's your coworkers at break time who talk about their latest diet and what celebrity gained weight and oh my goodness or whatever. Is that when we start to give up dieting and we start to be okay with ourselves, we're going to recognize, one, how it's everywhere. It's almost like you're going to have a film lifted over your eyes to see it is everywhere. I can't go to the grocery store and not see magazines. I can't go down certain aisles and see food that says clean or light and fit or healthy choice or whatever is out there. You're going to see it everywhere, and you're going to recognize that you're kind of stepping out of that. And for some of us, that's super exciting and freeing because maybe we have a little bit of rebellious spirit in us anyway. And it just feels so right that we're not 100% good with it yet. It takes time to be fully grounded in yourself and recognize, yeah, people might not get it. I'm okay. And then some of us are going to be just so scared. And I think it's really important for you to have compassion. And I have compassion for you with that because it's really scary, especially if you haven't felt like you've ever fit in or you've had experiences of feeling alone, not taken care of, neglected, abandoned, and maybe being on a diet and losing weight when you were 12 or 16 or 20 or 30 or whatever for the first time made you feel apart. It would be really scary to let that go because that's given you something that you never had, that you needed or wanted. And so if you're listening to this and you resonate with that, know that the intuitive eating process does give you the opportunity to get grounded enough in yourself where you can find your stability, your inner stability, your faith, your trust in something that's not what everybody else says, but just something that you feel that is reliable, which is your body's signals. They're reliable once you've been eating enough, long enough that you can recognize them and trust them, and that you recognize the feedback from different kinds of ways of eating and can trust that. And that makes you less vulnerable to whatever else is going on in the world, whatever food rules or new diets or changes in whatever. You have that internal footing. And once you start to have that, it makes us a lot more resilient to honestly what everybody else is doing. And that's really important. And it allows us to stop thinking that, okay, well, I can only eat as much as I Or, oh, I can only eat more if so-and-so eats more. And so that makes it more okay for me to eat more. We stop feeling that that's necessary to give ourselves what we need. And so, like I said, the point of this article is recognizing, or this time together is recognizing that it is hard to not be normal. And I joke with my clients a lot that normal's overrated, that I don't want to be like everybody else that worries about food and body. And I do know that I have privilege being in a smaller body, but I was also in a smaller body and hated myself and was scared of food and was afraid of what everybody else thought about how I ate and what I did. And not just with food, but with everything in life, like what I look like. Like I would never appear on a video, oh my goodness, no makeup, haven't washed my face yet, haven't taken a shower yet, my hair is like, that's a grease, whatever. I don't worry about it. I just had the inspiration to do this message because I felt like somebody or many needed to hear it. And here we are doing it. I'm not concerned about what you think about what I look. If I look tired or I sound sick or if I need to wash my hair. It's just not a thing for me because I have trust and faith in what I'm doing. And I want you to have that. And I didn't get to that place and that level of confidence because, I wish I could say as easy as I just decided to. I think there's a level of willingness to do it. But it started with intuitive eating. It started with stopping dieting. It started with, for me, I honestly, this proclamation of like, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen if I eat freely. I might weigh whatever my fear was at the time that I might weigh, but I'm willing to risk it because I want to be free. And I know I'm going to feel more feelings. And I know that at some point it's going to be weird for me to be around people who are doing that and I'm not anymore. And I had to learn okay, so how do I learn to, and that forced me because of that decision to be able to say, you know what, maybe I'm the only person who doesn't talk about dieting right now. That doesn't make me weird or bad. It just, that's my decision. And those early experiments helped me recognize okay, well, there are other things in life to talk about. We can talk about movies. We can talk about kids. We can talk about the sunshine. There's all kinds of things to talk about besides the size of our bodies that we honestly aren't giving ourselves an opportunity to have, and the richness and the bigness of life, and then maybe focus on other things. We're so focused on weight and food. And that doesn't mean that maybe you're listening I actually have a pretty full life. It's just that I don't like my body. I get it. And so that even exemplifies the magnitude of how would you have more ease in your life if you weren't beating up your body or making it wrong? Even if you have a body that doesn't fit the cultural standard of beauty or what people think you should weigh to be healthy, that's all projection. We all know that nobody, and that's from a really tiny narrow of seeing each other and seeing the beauty and all the diversity that we have. And people who can't see that just have a lot of fear about that. It doesn't make that your body's wrong. And so when I started thinking about all these topics, as I started breaking free from dieting and eating more of what I wanted and taking really big food risks that scared me to death, one, I knew that, the learning was fast and furious around oh my goodness, cake isn't magical weight gain food. And oh my goodness, apples don't magically make me more virtuous. My character, that's it. That's all I've got. And it started to give me a lot more courage. Okay, so I'm going to go into this lunch. I'm thinking back 10 plus years ago when I had this clinical job and everybody was on a diet besides me of probably 8 people. And so I was able to just sit there and listen, and I had some frustration, totally. I totally wish that this conversation would disappear. But I also realized that I was in a different place and they weren't bad people. It's just that I'm opting out of the norm, which is worrying about this stuff. And when I say worrying about this stuff, I don't mean that you don't care about your health or that you don't want to be able to play with your kids or go upstairs. Those are all things that we can work towards with sustainable and non-harsh activity towards ourselves. But things became a lot more simple. A lot more simple. Okay, do I like this movement or not? Not because I'm a good or bad person because I do it, or I'm lazy or not lazy because I do or don't do it. It's, do I like this activity? Well, not really. Okay, is there something else I might like to do? And, not all of us get the privilege of liking our activity, because some of us are in bodies that have a lot of pain or have other things that make things not really joyful, but we do it because there are benefits to it, even though it doesn't always feel good. So I acknowledge that I'm not, in that space. So it's really easy to talk about joyful movement when you don't have chronic pain. So I want to acknowledge that. But we're doing things not out of self-hatred. We're doing things still out of the guise of self-love, even if it doesn't seem what everybody else does. Again, AKA not normal. And so I guess I'll leave it with this. It's like, if being normal is worrying about food, being black or white about my eating, worried about what other people think about my appearance, it's not that I don't ever care. Like, I'm not going to go to a job interview in my pajamas and not wash my hair or my face or brush my teeth. I'm not going to do that. Because I think there's probably ways that we, all conform. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do basic self-care to go out in the world. But what I'm saying is that if somebody thinks that I'm less attractive because I don't wear makeup, I'm okay with that. I don't want to attract and probably hang out with somebody who cares whether or not I wear makeup or has a strong opinion about that. We're not going to have much in common anyway. It's okay. And I bless them on their way, but I'm okay with that. And that really stemmed from this original journey of starting to recognize that the things that a lot of us have lived with that seem normal aren't actually very good for us, and they make us suffer. And it takes us away from actually being more present to ourselves and who we really are and others. And so that was, over time, that was enough to kind of sell me that, I'm okay with not being normal because I want my life to be a certain way. So I'm hoping this video helps anybody out there that's feeling like, oh my gosh, this is so daunting to live in a world that's not okay with my body. And I want you to remember that that's not your fault, that this world is so daunting. But you focusing more on the benefits of not being normal, the freedom of not being normal, and what gifts that brings you, makes every day, one day at a time, just a lot easier. So I'm not saying that's always easy. I mean, I get negative comments on my stuff, and to my face and all that, and that's okay. It's just, that's where I stand, and I'm okay with not being normal with around food, and especially when it comes to food and weight and walking in our lives with our values and our integrity intact. I'm good with that. So hope all this was helpful to you, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.